Ner le'echad, ner le'me'ah. We say if there's a candle for one, there's a candle for 100, so it doesn't make a difference. Today's topic is going to be one which is necessary for all of us. It doesn't matter how organized you are, how great you are, how fantastic you are. We all need a little dose of this, of the class we're having today. So today is, good morning. Today the class is about setting yourself up for success. When we talk about setting ourselves up for success, we have to understand that just like vitality life needs a vessel to be able to express itself, to be able to exist and fulfill its mission. It's not enough to have a vessel. It's not enough to have the light. You need to have the light and the vessel together. So too, one of the most essential vessels to maximize our productivity and to set ourselves up for success is organization. If we are well organized, you are able to fulfill your mission in God's world with your qualities and your potential in the way which is the most appropriate and the way God wants you to fulfill your mission. If you are disorganized, then it's the total opposite. It's interesting because when we speak about the creation of the world, it says, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, ve'haaretz hayta tohu vavohu. At the beginning, God created heaven and earth. But at the beginning, the earth was tohu bohu, complete chaos. It's only after everything was created, on the sixth day, God creates man, and he creates what's called Olam HaTikun, a world of order. Now everything is there: mineral life, vegetable life, animal life, mankind, to dominate the world, to bring the world, all the lower levels below himself of mineral, vegetable, animal life, to their purpose, and at the same time to attach the higher worlds, godliness with this world. Just like the letter Aleph. The letter Aleph is a Yud on top, a hand reaching up, a hand touching down, and a Vav in the middle, which is man. We are here to bring the higher world to the lower world together within man. We are what we call Bria Tichonit, the central creation of the world, which is able to unify heaven and earth. This is Olam HaTikun, the world of order. So what is chaos? What is the difference, Kabbalistically speaking, between chaos and order? So I want to tell you that just like, first of all, at the beginning of creation, it says in Kabbalah, the light of Hashem was so powerful that the vessels were not able to contain in themselves the light of God. And therefore, there was what we call Shvirat HaKelim, a breaking, an explosion of the vessels. The vessels were not able to stay put and contain and channel the light. So what is tohu? Chaos. tohu means that there is the aspect of kindness, there is the aspect of severity, for example, but there is no inter-inclusion. What is inter-inclusion? Which means inter-inclusion is when you have two circles. You have two circles, right? And each circle by itself exists by itself. Kindness, severity. Inter-inclusion is when you're able to have that connecting point between two opposites where they meet. In the world of Tohu, there is absolutely that function. That meeting of opposites does not exist. And therefore, when it's kindness in a way of Tohu. It's powerful, it's mighty, it's with absolutely no limitations whatsoever. As a result, it's impossible to bear such a chesed, such a kindness. You know? Just like severity. Severity is not tempered by kindness. It's severity in the full force. You can understand why such a light was not able to be contained by the vessels and there was an explosion of the vessels, the channels. Olam HaTikun, on the other hand, the world of Tikkun, the world of order, the organized world, if you want to call it this way, is a world in which kindness can be tempered by severity. Severity can be tempered by kindness. Let me explain what I mean. If you're driving a car and you only have the aspect of kindness going forward, you're going to press on the gas without ever having a brake. That is a recipe for catastrophe. You might go very far for a long time, but it's definitely a recipe for a disaster. On the other hand, if you press on the brake the whole time, you're not going anywhere. Right? That type of restraint doesn't bring you anywhere. That's another extreme. What we need to do is to have that balance between the brake and the accelerator, between kindness and severity. That's Olam HaTikun. A certain harmony which brings to a synergy. And in that sense, that synergy aspect is much more powerful and usable than the world of Tohu. The world of Tohu, it might be very powerful, but it's destructive. The world of order, I might be less powerful because I'm able to support, I'm able to tolerate the opposite force. I'm able to work with the opposite force. But once that synergy happens, suddenly there's something very powerful that happens. Because the power of synergy is just like if I'm able to lift 50 pounds and you're able to lift 50 pounds, together, normally we should only be able to lift 100 pounds. But instead, we're able to lift 200 pounds. Because it's no longer 1 + 1 is 2, but rather 1 + 1 is 3. That power of synergy. That's the world of order. So, in the world of order, a vessel and its light, a vessel and its ashpa'ah is well balanced. We know from the Ayom Yom, a book that the Rebbe wrote in 1943, every day another word of the day. You could see it on Chabad.org. You could find these different sayings of the day, which are very deep. Aikar hu haseder. What's the most important is order. You need order. Baal Shem Tov haya mesudar. The holy Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidism, was very organized. His successor, the Maggid of Mezrich, as well, and the Alter Rebbe as well. Everything is order. But how do you create order? You do not, in order to create order, a person has to understand what is the priority in his life. What are my priority? Now you're going to say, why are we speaking about order? I'm going to tell you a little secret. We are between Purim and Pesach, and during Pesach we have what's called Seder, which means order. And usually that spiritual experience and culinary experience of eating the matzah is preceded by a seder, by an organization in the house, a cleansing and a cleaning of the house. That's why we're going to be speaking about seder. Not only that, the Alter Rebbe taught his Hasidim to be organized. So how do, when we have so many different tchumim, so many different aspects of our lives, how do we become organized? How do we become more organized? How do we, becoming more organized means that we have more time on our hands. The first thing is, we need to set a specific goal, a specific purpose. There's not, I want this, or I feel this, and this is what I need right now. You need to go and to take the time to settle down and to really look at the priorities of your life, the priorities in what needs to be done, their level of importance. Right? And their level of importance in my life. Not only in this specific moment, but when I look at the whole picture of my life, how is this really important? How is this essential to my life right now? Because if you don't sit down properly to settle down, to see exactly the level of importance of everything, you can come to a level of tohu where you are going to have this explosion, whether emotional, God forbid, mental or physical. Sometimes a person will think that he needs to focus on one and one thing only without looking at all the other elements which are around his life, his family, his health, his everything else. And he's going to focus on one thing. And that too could be a disaster. Even though he is well focused and he is very present. But that level of presence is actually a great absence in many other areas. On one hand, you take a person like myself, which I think I have all the qualities of a person which is ADHD, and unfortunately it comes with the defects as well. I want to conquer the world. Right? We all have that. I want to be able to do this, and I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to have my cake and eat it. I want to be able to live every possible experience and be good at everything that I do. So, the big problem with that is that a person that really wants to advance in life is not able to be everything to everybody, everywhere, and at the same time really go to the depth of things. Now, this is something which is very difficult for a person like me to even say, how much more so to listen to, because there's so many things, so many areas I want to be able to cover. Our sages teach us, tafasta meruba, lo tafasta. If you try to grasp, to grab a lot, you will not grab anything. At the end, you will be left with nothing. A master of all, a jack of all trades, right? He knows everything, but he knows nothing. He just knows a little of everything. You need to be able to focus yourself and on one specific thing, one specific goal that you have. That this is going to become the central goal of what you want to accomplish. There's certain things in life that we know if we're going to be good at this, if this is the important thing right now that needs to be done, then if I'm good at this, then it's going to have a hashpa'ah. It's going to have an influence on all the other areas of my life. There's certain things which have that. But in order to be able to find out what these things are, we need to sit down with ourselves in a calm place. And let's do that right now. Let's sit down with ourselves and ask ourselves, 1 second. There's a lot of things I want to accomplish. Right? You couldn't imagine somebody that now wants to study and everything, but he's not going to be able to provide parnasah, he's not going to be able to sustain his family. So that will bother him in his goal. So when a person is waiting, he needs to go to 2 places. He needs to go north and he needs to go south, and he's waiting for the bus. You don't decide, whichever bus is going to come first, that's the bus I'm going to take. But that's a little the mentality we have, because we want to just get it over with. You have to know what is important. So let us ask ourselves, and I'm not really speaking to you, I'm speaking to myself, because organization has always been a tremendous struggle for me. There were times where I was extremely organized, and times where I don't even talk about it. But we all have these different times. What is the most important thing? Let's talk about the next month. Pesach is coming. We just ended Purim. There's going to be a break for many people from school. And then the summer is approaching. What would bring the greatest results in your life if you invested every day 5 minutes of reflection every day on that one thing, and focused specifically on being better in quality and quantity in that one thing on a daily basis? What would that be? I want to tell you that in the past I used to write goals. I have a goal to do this and I have a goal to do that. Very nice. But unfortunately, just like dieting, goals seems to be in the brain, in the subconscious brain, something that sounds like, oh, another thing we're going to start and not finish. Another thing that we're going to start and fail at. So, rather than goals, what is your purpose? Why do you think you were brought in this earth? What is your talent that you need to focus on, that nobody else can do like what you do? We all have a special talent, a special ability. We need to nurture this ability. We need to use it. We need to grow it. We need to learn about it. And the more we focus on that one area of our lives on a regular basis, it's not so much the quantity of time, but the quality of time that's going to be invested. The more this will become a priority, and the more this becomes a priority, the more we are going to find time to organize the other parts of our lives so they should, in this cosmos, right, circulate around this priority. So what is that for you? You have people that have they have hobbies. Your hobby is not who you are. It's what you enjoy doing. But sometime is not the time to nurture your hobby. I'm not talking about a hobby, I'm talking about your purpose in life. Yesterday, I officiated at a funeral of a very, very, very successful man. We'll dedicate the class today in his memory, Yoel Ben Ruth, Mr. Joel Newman of blessed memory of Golden Beach, which I had the pleasure of knowing for the last 24 years. A man who was very successful. His purpose was to be successful in business and to be able not to depend on anyone, to be able to provide for his family and use his abilities as a salesman to the highest possible capacity. And he did so in a very wonderful way, very successful way, while keeping his humility in line, which is extraordinary. There's certain qualities, certain talents which we have, which sometimes we need to develop. We need to use more. What are these things that you put aside that you think that would really have an impact? What is the priority right now that you need to focus on in your life that would make a change? Once you start focusing on that, I want to tell you a personal experience. There was a time where I used to waste a lot of time. When I talk about waste of time, let's first of all put in our minds the following number, 1440. This is a very special number. Why? Why is it a special number? I'm going to tell you, it's no Kabbalistic thing. I was trying to think what people are thinking when I say 1440. Maybe it's a holy Kabbalistic formula. So it's not. It's a very practical formula. 1440 is 1,440 minutes there are in a period of 24 hours. So yes, it's a magical formula if you use it properly. The question is, how do we use that time? In the olden days, when cell phones didn't have unlimited plans, I remember at the end of the month, it would say you spent 2,000 minutes, 3,000 minutes, 6,000 minutes talking on the phone. We didn't have WhatsApp at the time. And there was this impression, but what did I accomplish in this 4,000, 3,000, 6,000 minutes? And you had to pay for the minutes, right? So today, everything is free. You pay and you could speak unlimitedly. And today, with all the social media and everything, so I used to waste my time seeing news sites. That this news site has to say, what that news site has to say. Till one day, a friend of mine gave me a 24-hour challenge. In this 24-hour challenge, he said, Shy, do not look at any websites for 24 hours. Now, I did that. And it lasted for a year and a half. During that year and a half, I changed my whole schedule. Suddenly, I was able to have more time for study, more time for my family, more time for this, more time for that. It's the wasted time here and there that makes that a day which is supposed to be fulfilling, because at the end of the day, we all want to be fulfilled with our days. When we accomplish something, when we maximize our potential, when we are at it, it feels good. So, there is a certain order of things that we need to do. So what I did is I started a certain hour of the day, and I still do it today, where I study Torah. Now, sometimes you don't have the will to do it by yourself. You don't have enough willpower. So I have a study partner. And that study partner, it's not, in my case, it's not a question of willpower. It's a question that I'm so inundated with so many things, so many responsibilities as a rabbi, that I know that if I don't have somebody else that I'm responsible to, I'm going to be just sucked into that whirlpool of work and just be taken away. And I will not be able to accomplish and reveal the better me. So we started doing that. And eventually what happened is that became the center of my day. There is what I do before that, and there is what I do after that. But that's the center of my day. What would you say, instead of a goal, let's take a ritual that is going to become the center of your day. We all know the story of Rabbi Akiva, that at 40 years old was not able to study Torah, had a blocked mind and a blocked heart. And one day, he walked and he saw how over time, a little droplet dropping on a stone was able to pierce the stone. And he said, if a little drop that's consistent is able to pierce a stone, my head, my heart are not more than a stone. They're more, and therefore, if I'm consistent at what I do, I'm going to be able to learn that skill. And he became the great Rabbi Akiva, which the whole Talmud is really Rabbi Akiva. So a person that has a proper order and he wants to go ahead, but he thinks very well, he plans ahead. If it's really that important what you want to do, you need to plan ahead and say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to accomplish. So, a few things. Number one, what is the ritual that you want to do on a consistent basis that's going to bring you fulfillment and bring you closer to revealing your potential and being happy? You deserve that moment. However short it is, however big it is, it should be a quality moment. because that's going to have an impact on everything that you do. What is that ritual? Obviously, we already have a ritual on Monday mornings. But what's your ritual on a daily basis? Could be 5 minutes. But I need to have this, and I need to have it in a peaceful way. Could be listening to a daily class on Chabad.org. Tanya of the day from Rabbi Gordon of blessed memory. So many things. Could be prayer, saying the morning blessing, starting your day on the right foot. Now, there's another thing. One day, somebody came to see the Tzemach Tzedek, the 5th Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he said that he committed a certain sin and he wants to be able to repair his sin. The Tzemach Tzedek didn't tell him crazy things, even though it's going to sound crazy what I'm going to say. He told him, you need to fast for 300 days. Now, fasting for 300 days means that literally every day you fast and at night you eat bread and you drink water. The Chassid became livid. The Tzemach Tzedek looked at him back and said, 1 second. Do you think that fasting means going on a diet? No. When I mean fasting, we're talking really about putting yourself in a situation where you are fasting, you are disconnecting yourself from the outside, and you're taking that 5, 10, 15 minutes before going to sleep, thinking about how tomorrow is going to be better than today, what have you examining what you've accomplished today and what you could have accomplished today. So the Chassid did this for 300 days consecutively. He finally went back to the Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek looked at him and said, I see that your soul is at a much higher level than it was before you sinned. Not only was he able to repair his sin, he was able to elevate his soul higher even than that. And that's all because of 5, 10, or 15 minutes. So, the next step, once you establish this ritual, is to have another ritual of planning. Planning your day. A day that is planned, right? If you fail to plan, then you are planning to fail, they say. So I want to tell you that the days where I'm very serious and the night before or the beginning of the week, I plan my week with my specific goals. So the days that I plan my week properly and I look at my goals and all the tasks that I need to accomplish, and they're very clear for me. My mindset is already a mindset that is much more focused towards a specific accomplishments that I want to have this week. So that's what it keeps me busy with. And every time I'm going to go back to these accomplishments which I need to accomplish, and each time it's going to bother me that it's still on my piece of paper, on my list, on my to-do it, whatever it is. And at the end, you feel good that you've accomplished so much. You're able to look back and say, I accomplished this and this. But there needs to be a ritual of organization. One day, somebody was walking in the forest and saw a man chopping wood. So that man looked at him and said, you should sharpen your saw. He says, what are you talking about? Do you think I have time for these things? Yesterday at this hour I already had cut 15 trees. Today I'm only cut 4. Now that's ridiculous. That's 15 minutes that you're going to take to sharpen your saw is going to permit you to go ahead even more so. So I think that the first plan that needs to be planned is how to plan to plan. Set aside a time where you are planning your week, where you're reviewing your day, where you are seeing what you're accomplishing, and you're seeing how you're doing your rituals in a proper way. Once we do this, once we put our head to it, then at that moment, it might be a little complicated because you need to really put in place everything and prepare yourself properly. But then the light and the vessel come in a perfect union. You're already at peace with yourself. I remember in the olden times when I started, we had events like Purim. This past Purim, we had almost 300 people or more. Actually, we had more than 300 people. And it's a whole organization, the music, the food, and so on and so forth. Those who are vegetarians, those who are vegan, those who are, etc. The music. And I remember myself running at the last minute and sweating. One day I went to Philadelphia and I went to a Shabbat dinner that was organized by the community. I was speaking over there. And I saw how the main rabbi was just roaming in as a guest in his own function that he's hosting. That moment struck me, and I said to myself, no more. I can't be running all over the place. I don't know if you identify with what I'm saying, but we all have areas in our lives where things could be so planned ahead and be so smooth, but we actually sabotage ourselves. So my dear friends, I'm going to leave you with this today. I'm going to ask you, challenge you for the next week, as we're coming to the Seder of Pesach, to make some order in your life. Take the time to plan your week. Maybe do it right now. If you're motivated right now, it's a time to lock these doors if you're able to. Put the phone on silent and just say, what am I going to accomplish this week? What would make me so happy, bring me fulfillment knowing that I've accomplished this week? It's more than just a bunch of tasks. How is that going to fulfill the purpose for which I was created? Have a fantastic day. God bless you. And hopefully we'll continue this series next week with more details and more tools.